The Catholic Church has been called many things throughout history: a beacon of hope, a house of God, a kingdom built on faith. But for the women in this video, it was something else entirely. It was the reason they were thrown to wild beasts, crushed under 800 pounds of stone, dragged into arenas before screaming crowds, and killed in ways that history has struggled to forget. These were not soldiers, they were not warriors, they were women, mothers, slaves, noble women, young girls, who made one simple choice. They chose God. And the world made them pay for it with their lives. Perpetua and Felicity, the noble woman and the slave who walked into the arena together. Carthage, North Africa, 203 AD. The Roman Emperor Septimus Severus has issued a decree: no one is permitted to become Christian. 2 women are arrested. The first is Vibia Perpetua, 22 years old, a noble woman, recently married, and still nursing her newborn baby. The second is Felicity, her pregnant slave, 2 women from completely opposite ends of Roman society, united by one faith and one fate. In prison, Perpetua began writing her diary, one of the earliest surviving first-person accounts written by a woman in all of history, documents every detail of what happened next. Her father came to her cell weeping, begging her to renounce her faith and come home to her baby. She refused. At trial, the judge condemned them all to death by wild beasts in the arena. Perpetua described her companions returning to prison, filled with great joy. Felicity was 8 months pregnant when they were arrested. The law forbade executing pregnant women. She was terrified she would be left behind when her companions faced death. She prayed. 2 days before the execution, she went into labor early in her prison cell. The guards mocked her screams. One sneered, "If you suffer so much now, what will you do when you face the beasts?" Felicity looked at him calmly and said, "Now it is I who suffer, but in the arena another will be in me suffering for me, because I will be suffering for him." She gave birth to a daughter that night. The baby was taken and raised by other Christian women in Carthage. On the day of execution, they walked into the arena singing. They were first attacked by a rabid wild heifer, chosen specifically because it matched their sex. Both women were thrown and gored and gravely injured. The crowd roared. Then they were dragged back out. When Felicity was knocked down by the animal, Perpetua grabbed her hand and pulled her up. Even in the arena, even bleeding, she would not let her go. The beasts could not finish them, so gladiators were brought in. Perpetua's executioner was young and nervous. His first blow struck bone instead of a vein. She cried out in pain. Then, she reached up, took his trembling hand, and guided the sword to her own throat. Her last recorded words before entering the arena were, "Stand fast in the faith, love one another, do not be weakened by what we have gone through." She was 22 years old. Saint Agnes, the 12-year-old who chose death over dishonor. Rome, 304 AD. Agnes was 12 years old, possibly 13. She was a Christian girl from a noble Roman family, and by every account, extraordinarily beautiful. When the son of a powerful Roman official proposed marriage, Agnes refused. She told him she had already consecrated her life to God. He didn't take it well. He reported her to the Roman authorities as a Christian, during one of the most brutal periods of Christian persecution in history under Emperor Diocletian. The authorities gave her a choice: sacrifice to the Roman gods, or face the consequences. Agnes refused. What happened next was designed to break her completely. She was sent to a Roman brothel, a place of public degradation. The accounts say she walked in with complete calm and emerged untouched, protected by what witnesses described as a divine presence so powerful no one dared lay a hand on her. The authorities tried burning her at the stake. The flames, accounts say, parted around her. Finally, she was executed by beheading or by a sword to the throat, depending on the account. She was barely a teenager. Agnes was declared a saint, and her name has been spoken in the Catholic Mass for over 1,600 years. She is one of only 7 women, besides the Virgin Mary, mentioned by name in the Roman canon of the Mass. A 12-year-old girl, remembered by the entire Church, forever. Saint Cecilia, the woman they could not kill until they could. Rome, late 2nd century. Cecilia was a noble woman, a Christian, and like Agnes, she had made a private vow of virginity before God. Her family arranged her marriage to a pagan man named Valerian. On her wedding day, while ceremonial music played around her, Cecilia sat quietly and sang to God in her heart. That night she told her new husband the truth. She had consecrated herself to God. An angel watched over her. If he tried to touch her, the angel would act. Valerian, remarkably, believed her. He asked to see the angel. Cecilia told him to be baptized first. He was, and when he returned, The accounts say both he and Cecilia saw the angel together, standing beside her, holding 2 crowns of roses and lilies. Valerian and his brother both converted to Christianity. Both were later executed for it. When Cecilia was arrested, the Roman authorities tried to suffocate her, locking her in her own bathroom and superheating it with steam. She survived an entire day and night without injury. Then an executioner was sent to behead her. He struck her neck 3 times with his sword. Roman law forbade a 4th blow. She did not die immediately. She lay on the floor of her home, bleeding from 3 neck wounds for 3 days. Christians came from across the city to be with her. She spent her final hours distributing everything she owned to the poor. Then she died. Cecilia became the patron saint of music because of that silent song she sang to God on her wedding day. Today she is one of the most beloved saints in all of Catholic history. 3 sword strikes could not silence her. Nothing could. Margaret Clitheroe. The English housewife crushed to death for hiding priests. York, England, 1586. The Protestant Reformation has swept across England. Queen Elizabeth I sits on the throne. Being Catholic is now a crime. Margaret Clitheroe was a butcher's wife, a mother, an ordinary woman by every outward measure. But inside her home, hidden behind a secret wall, she had built a small room where Catholic priests could hide from the authorities and celebrate Mass in secret. She had already been imprisoned multiple times for her faith. She knew the risks. She continued anyway. On March 10, 1586, authorities raided her home. The priests escaped through a hidden passage, but the officers found the hidden room. They found the sacred vessels used for Mass. That was enough. Margaret was arrested. At trial, she refused to enter a plea, guilty or not guilty. She told the court calmly that only God could judge her. She was worried that if she pleaded, her children and servants might be called as witnesses and forced to testify against her, exposing them to punishment. So she said nothing. Under English law at the time, refusing to plead meant only one sentence. She was to be pressed to death. On the morning of March 25, 1586, Good Friday, Margaret was laid on the ground with her arms stretched out in the form of a cross. A sharp stone was placed beneath her back. Then they began placing weights on top of her body, 800 pounds in total. The sheriffs ordered their men to do it. The men refused, so the sheriffs rounded up beggars from the streets and forced them to carry the stones instead. It took 15 minutes for Margaret Clitheroe to die. Her last words were, "Jesus, Jesus, Jesus, have mercy on me." She was 30 years old. She was pregnant at the time of her death. Margaret Clitheroe was canonized in 1970 by Pope Paul VI, one of the 40 martyrs of England and Wales. She is known as the Pearl of York, crushed under 800 pounds of stone, for hiding priests, for keeping the Mass alive. Saint Lucy, the girl they tried to move and couldn't. Syracuse, Sicily, 304 AD. Lucy was a young Christian girl from a wealthy family. Like Agnes and Cecilia before her, she had devoted herself to God. When a pagan nobleman sought to marry her and she refused, he reported her to the Roman governor as a Christian. The governor ordered her to renounce her faith and make a sacrifice to the Roman gods. She refused. The governor sentenced her to be defiled in a brothel, the same degradation attempted against Agnes. Guards came to take her away. They could not move her. Multiple men tried. Then they brought oxen to drag her. She did not move. The accounts say she stood completely immovable, as though rooted to the ground by something beyond human explanation. The guards piled wood around her and set it on fire. The fire did not harm her. Finally, a soldier drove a sword through her throat. Even then, accounts say she did not die immediately. She remained alive long enough to receive Holy Communion one final time before she passed. Lucy's name in Latin means light. She became the patron saint of the blind and of those who suffer with their eyes. She is celebrated every December 13th, historically one of the darkest nights of the year, as a light that no darkness could extinguish. Perpetua, who guided a sword to her own throat so her executioner wouldn't have to suffer the weight of it. Felicity, a pregnant slave who gave birth in prison and walked into an arena days later, singing. Agnes, a 12-year-old girl who chose death over dishonor and has been remembered by the Church for 16 centuries. Cecilia, who lay bleeding from 3 neck wounds for 3 days and spent her final hours giving everything she had to the poor. Margaret, crushed under 800 pounds of stone on Good Friday, arms stretched out like a cross. Lucy, immovable, unburnable, unstoppable. These women did not choose violence. Violence chose them, and every single one of them faced it with a peace that the world still cannot fully explain.